Hello everybody and welcome back to Garibaldi Red, a Nottingham Forest podcast. I'm Max Hayes, your host, and as Forest sit third in the Premier League in March, they're quarter-finalists of the FA Cup and they've beaten Man City and Liverpool in the season. They've got the most clean sheets in the league. It is a special time to be a Forest fan, and that result at the weekend tops it off even more and brings back great memories from the old days in terms of Forest and Champions League success, and a Nuno Masterclass that we've titled this podcast against City keeps Forest fans dreaming, and it certainly does. What a win, what an atmosphere at the City ground on Saturday. We shall discuss all of that. And of course, look ahead to some more big games coming up for Forest in this March run-in as the Champions League race closes in. And maybe second place. You never know after Arsenal's result yesterday. Joined, first of all, by Max Scott from TalkSport, Forest fan as well. Max, great to have you back on, mate. How's things been? And you were there, and I was following a lot of your tweets. In fact, you just put a brilliant tweet on now, which I'm going to leave until later on in the podcast, about kind of the Forest story and people almost saying we've spent too much money and whatnot, but we'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, I was following your tweets at the weekend, mate, and I love the picture of you and your old man celebrating the win, because I'm sure many Forest fans were like that. It was a special day for all, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know that I'm not alone in that sort of how Forest is tied into family and all the things we've been through as a club, and you know, you experience those highs and lows with your own family's highs and lows, and so that almost makes your ties to the club even more sort of powerful. And I felt like there was just something about the win against City, with the context of where we are, where we've been, how dominant they've been in European world football the past 5 years under Pep Guardiola. I know it's not quite the same side, but to beat them for the first time in the league since '77 and be there with my old man, the sun was shining. You know, what had happened to Stuart Pearce as well, and there was, I think it felt like quite an emotionally charged game for so many different reasons. And I think to get the win and experience those, it was just another level, wasn't it, boys? We were just literally just saying before we came on air, we think it's the best. It was an absolute belter, the best atmosphere we've seen all season, and it was a wonderful day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was. And you're right, Max, actually. I think the Stuart Pearce thing was it just made the day a little bit more poignant, and you felt like there was something kind of riding on it. And I thought it was great, just, how the City ground rose to their feet, and just, I just thought it was really nice. And Nuno talked about Stuart Pearce quite well in his press conference as well. So, of course, we send our best wishes to him as well, speedy recovery, and great to see the City ground almost, stand up and have that nice minute or so talking about him. And, of course, massive club legend for Forest. Also joined by Sam Evans from the Tricky Tees. Sam, who were you there with on Saturday, mate? And Max is right, isn't it? I was just about to say, if Carlsberg did Saturdays, that would have probably been it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was the same. I was with my dad and my brother. So, like I say, very family affair, and it's great to see those sort of those results come through, and with the ones you've been there through thick and thin with. So yeah, it's great. I always worry about the 12:30 kickoffs, because they're a bit of a strange one, aren't they? There's not a lot of build up to the game, but like you say, the sun was shining. It was a glorious afternoon. So yeah, looking forward to talking about it on this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a good one. I was just laughing because I'm just looking in my camera, and if anyone thinks that they're watching and they're wondering, Max, why have you got massive white lines under your eyes? I've got bad sunglasses lines, tan marks or whatever. Max was just like, have you just been skiing, Max? No, I haven't. I've never been skiing, Max. I don't think I ever plan on doing it. It seems like one of those things where I'd end up like breaking a bone or something.
Oh, mate, it's amazing.
Is it good?
I'm going next week for my mate's stag. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm going on Thursday as well.
Oh yeah, where are you going?
I'm going to Bulgaria.
Oh, nice. My mate's just come back from Bulgaria, actually, skiing.
Yeah, there we go.
Enough of that.
Cheers for the invite. Yeah. Cheers for the invite, boys. I feel left out now. Right, enough about skiing. Let's talk about the game. Sam, we'll start with you, really. I think from minute one, I thought Forest started quite well. City, of course, had lots of the ball. They had chances. That's what the game plan was to do. I just wonder what you made to Nuno's kind of setup as well. There was a lot of question for Ryan Yates to come into the starting 11. Is it a Ryan Yates type game? Nicolas Dominguez, I thought, had a brilliant game. I thought he was excellent, and I thought that he was I think he almost, shall we say, put to bed maybe some of the criticism that he's recently received in terms of Yates or Sangare starting over him. And I just wonder what you made of Nuno starting 11. And I thought from minute one, I don't know, I just thought, as we were talking about with Stuart Pearce and everything, it just felt like it was going to be a special day.
Yeah, I like the intent from the starting 11. I thought it's easy to go against a team like City and try and change what you're doing and try and kind of plan for what they're gonna do and how they're gonna set up. And we stuck to our guns and stuck with the back four that's been working really well for us throughout the majority of the season. I know we've had a couple of wobbly results in the last five weeks compared to how we've been all season. But I thought the team was perfect. Like you said it perfectly. Dominguez has had his maybe minor doubters in the last couple of weeks, but he was fantastic in that game. Did everything that we know he can do. And for me, even if he's not starting, having Yates on the bench to come on and just in those last minutes just drag you through the game, and he's fantastic at what he does. Another great performance off the bench again, and he's unlucky that he's not starting. In my opinion, I think he's Mr. Forest, isn't he? We all know that, but his performances have been really good off the bench for the last 20 minutes when he's come on in the Premier League. So yeah, there's definitely an argument for him to be starting, but Dominguez has answered those critics and he was really good. I thought overall the team was phenomenal. The defence was again just 10 out of 10 all across that back four and Sells in goal. Aina was back to his absolute best, one of the best games I've seen him play this season. He was phenomenal. And him and Williams, I know that Doku swapped wings a couple of times, but him and Williams maybe once got beaten by him. And you got to think, like, the other week he played against Trent, who's arguably considered one of the best fullbacks in the world, and Doku just tore him to shreds. So it shows the levels that those two boys are operating at the moment, which it's class to see. So yeah, massive shout out to those two.
Yeah, no, I agree, Sam. Spot on. I mean, Max, when you look at the recent results that Forest have had, look, a good point against Arsenal, getting through to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, albeit on penalties and not in normal time. Was Saturday a game where, obviously, if Forest had lost, we'd have gone, well, it was Manchester City. But it was almost a game that was set up in a way, in terms of the season, it was almost a story of Forest season. Very little possession, 30% on the stats. I think it was 28% the first half in terms of possession. We know we don't like to have much of the ball. Nuno set us up well. The starting 11 was spot on. Sam talks about Ola Reina and Nico Williams doing a great job. It just seemed like the game was almost set up for Forest to go out there and to go and get 3 points, and they executed the game plan really well, and it's almost what Forest had been doing all season, really.
Yeah, it felt like Forest back at the very best. I thought, forget about the Ipswich Cup game, it's slightly different. He's not played, a fully his best 11 against Ipswich, but I thought the draw against Arsenal defensively was where we wanted to be. We didn't look like we weren't connecting as much going forward, but I thought on Saturday it was perfect. It was exactly the right game plan. I was really disappointed not to see Yates starting, because I think particularly in those games where you've got flashy players that are really confident on the ball, Yates is really good at disrupting that. But, this is why I'm not a football manager, because Nuno got it absolutely bang on. Nico Dominguez, I think that's the best performance I've seen in a Forest shirt. And how good is it to have somebody that you could arguably deserves to start to come on for a 20-25 minute cameo and just sort of crank it up another gear again? So I thought Nuno got it absolutely bang on, and it really was Forest peaking again just at the right time, just when the conversation and narrative was, are Forest falling off? Have teams found them out? Have they lost legs? Should they have bought in January? Is their depth an issue? We answered all of those questions, I think, really, really well. I think we're a couple of injuries away from disaster or from a really difficult situation. But as it stands, I think, again, Forest aren't a team that anybody wants to play against now. Yeah,
no, spot on, mate. I think that, especially this season, you just have the utmost confidence against the likes of. Genuinely, I know we all say it and we look back in the past few years, but who would have thought that Forest would have gone up against Manchester City toe to toe and won absolutely fair and square? I've seen some comments from some City fans, pure delusional, to be honest, saying that Forest didn't deserve the win. I heard one guy, the referee reffed the game like a championship game, so that was why Forest won, and let Ryan Yates do what Ryan Yates do, and just really pure delusional. So I thought Forest won the game fair and square, and I thought it was an excellent team performance all round. Sam, when you look at Forest going forward at the minute, particularly that first half, there was a few chances, and on the break, you just look at Callum Hudson-Odoi, Anthony Elanga just deadly, Chris Wood again, albeit maybe a little bit of a quiet one for him, but he had chances. I think that one in the second half, he tried to turn his body. It was a difficult one. Obviously, Callum Hudson-Odoi gets the goal in the second half. But you even feel against a team, and yes, City have had a poor season, but they've still got the quality there. They've still got the players, and are still arguably even the world champions. You felt like Forest's final third could cause all sorts of damage.
Yeah, their lineup. It kind of. I looked at it, and my immediate reaction was it was kind of a bit similar to how Brighton set up against us, in terms of the fact that their kind of midfield was all very, very attacking. They had that one kind of holding midfield, and the other kind of four in that midfield were very attacking with the one striker up top. And I looked at the lineup and obviously saw that Mateus Nunes he was playing at right back, I think, wasn't he? And immediately then I was thinking, right, there's a real chance here to really get at them, and there's definitely vulnerabilities in that team. And yeah, Callum's on absolute fire. If he's not in that England squad, I'll be surprised, because I think he's fully deserved it. And I don't think there's any better left winger in England right now than him in the form that he's in. He's just so deadly, he's so direct. He's just amazing to watch. He's everything you want in a winger. Puts balls in the box, cuts inside, gets shots off. Yeah, he's fantastic, and he's at the top of his game right now. He's so confident. So I think he'd be a shoo-in for that. And yeah, the attacking threat is there. They're all just so fluid. They're all on the same page, and it's wonderful to see. Like Max said earlier, I think the Arsenal game was a bit of a tricky one. I think Arsenal were a bit more defensively rigid, and maybe a bit less gung-ho than Man City are when they kind of throw men forward, and it worked into our hands. They try and break away, and Aina steals the ball, and just a quick pass over the top to Hudson-Odoi, and that's it. We're in. So it's the game plan was spot on, and it worked perfectly against a team like City. So that's a prime example of the perfect setup from Nuno.
Yeah, I was going to come in there actually, Sam, and you mentioned about kind of Ola Reina winning the ball and instantly almost launching a counter-attack, and I mean it obviously led to the goal, the pass to Morgan Gibbs-White, almost where Ryan Yates won the ball in the second half, Max. And I watched it actually from I think it was I can't remember the name, so apologies for not giving you a name check, but it was a Forest vlog, and it was from like the lower Bridgeford end, and you could see he zoomed in really well on whatever camera he's filming with, and you might have seen it on Twitter. I'm sure you can find it, and where Ryan Yates almost wins the ball, and the City ground instantly gets up on their feet, and just the passion, the pure energy from not just him but from all the players on Saturday, Max. It almost epitomises what you want Forest to be doing, and what you want professional football players that play for our football club. They wear the shirt with pride, and you just feel like the energy's there, the enthusiasm's there. They just want to win every ball, and and try and do the best job as possible.
Yeah, and you look at the sort of, you'd say, culture carriers in that side. They all do that really well. Like Ryan Yates leads from the front, and that's his game. But even Morgan Gibbs-White, he's not just a stunning football player. I said after the game, he's the best Forest player I've ever seen in my life, that I've watched live. And I know people talk about Stuart Pearce and Stan Collymore when I was live. Well, I never watched him. I was too young, And so Morgan Gibbs-White is the best football player I've seen for Nottingham Forest. But not only has he got that attacking flair, he's incredibly creative, dangerous. You look at that pass, it's like the pass of the season for me. He gets back, and he's got that sort of dogged determination. And so I commented on a Forest Instagram post. I said it'd be a sackable offence if Phil Foden's in the England squad over him. This season, I'm not undermining how fantastic a player Phil Foden is and can be. Not that I don't think he has for England, but certainly for Man City. This season, you cannot tell me that on merit, Morgan Gibbs-White is a level above Phil Foden in terms of his form and his performances. But to your point, Max, across the team, we've got people that do that, that set the standard on the pitch. And Saturday was, just, I guess, the sort of perfect storm for all of that.
Yeah, spot on, mate. No, I agree. And especially when Morgan played that pass, you almost saw Pep kind of drop to his knees. He almost knew that when Callum Hudson-Odoi was in, that it could end up in the back of the net. And
also, no one's commented on it, as in that I've heard, sort of, whether it's on radio or on television, is Morgan Gibbs-White plays that ball.
I was just about to say this.
And the lung busting run. I mean, he'll have been fuming if that didn't go in. If he was there on the edge of the box. But the fact that he's the first person to celebrate with Callum Hudson-Odoi and he passes that ball from inside his own box tells you everything you need to know about the standards at the club at the minute. That is that in a nutshell. Yeah,
spot on. Sammy, sounds like Max had stolen your thunder there, mate. You were about to say that, but honestly, it was.
Yeah, that's why he's a professional, mate. He gets it before me.
That's why he works for TalkSport, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, and when we talk about Morgan, actually, Sam, and obviously Max mentions him kind of fighting for a place, hopefully in the England squad. Tuchel was there against Ipswich. I don't think he was there on Saturday, as far as I'm aware, but obviously monitoring him as he's doing with lots of other players. And Morgan can do that. Well, I'm not saying, I thought he had a great game on Saturday, but just that moment of brilliance to play that pass. And that's where your top players seem to kind of stand out more than the others, because look, Dominguez had a great game, but there was nothing that I'd pinpointing, all right, Dominguez did that, but Morgan Gibbs-White, you can remember him for doing that, and it's those moments of brilliance which will hopefully get him a place in the England squad, but also have transformed Forest's season. And without players like him, without Gibbs-White's excellent moments, Forest wouldn't have won that game. Forest would have, possibly lost many more this season. So it's the moments of pure, almost excellence from him, and his talent shines through.
Yeah, he's just so positive, so energetic, so positive. Max summed it up. He is the best player that I've ever seen, and long may it continue in a Forest shirt for him, because I think, like I say, he should be a shoo-in for that spot just based on his performance so far. He's doing it in a team that's, I know obviously we're having a great season, but it's not in a team that's surrounded by superstars. Everyone just grafts in this team, and he is the kind of that focal point of that grafting. And it's his kind of work rate and everything like that. It deserves every plaudit he gets, really. So yeah, it's just really nice to see that he's getting the recognition outside of Forest. We all know how good he is. We watch him week in, week out, but it's so nice to see him getting the plaudits on the bigger stage as well. And hopefully he'll be on the even bigger stage next season in Europe. That'll be the next step up for him. And I think he's built for those sort of games. His quality is fantastic, and he's perfect for those European games.
Yeah. Sure, he's looking forward to play on the big stage again at the City Ground against Senegal come the summer when we have that friendly. Max, wanted to talk about the finish, really. Saw many pundits, Joe Hart, one of them on Match of the Day, and I get it, he's a keeper, he's talking about Ederson, whether Ederson should have done better. I mean, I think the finish is an excellent one. It's a difficult angle. Callum actually talks through the goal on Twitter, and you can kind of watch it back, and he talks about just kind of going for it and almost seeing that gap near the near post, I should say. I just thought it was an excellent finish. He deserved the goal. He'd been excellent. That chance that had hit the post, so unlucky. That was a great save from Ederson. But I thought the finish deserved credit rather than Ederson deserving criticism, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, I still think Ederson should have saved it because it's his near post and his hand's pretty close. But I think fair play for Hudson-Odoi for having the minerals to step up and say, I'm going to win this game. I'm going to take this. I've probably got a better option to pass. I'm going to take it. He's hit it really hard. He's hit it, there's no margin for error there in terms of its accuracy. So I think both. It's a great finish. But if that's Matt Sells, you're thinking that's disappointing because he's been beaten at the near post. And I know he's absolutely leathered it, hasn't he? But I think he's got to do better, the keeper. But happy days.
Yeah, happy days indeed. What was your reaction, Sam, when it went in? I just thought the City ground limbs were the best limbs, and I just thought the scenes were unbelievable. Even scenes in the family stand.
Yeah, it was amazing. I'm at the other end of the ground, so when it kind of went in, it obviously
delayed reaction.
It was a bit of a delayed reaction.
Yeah, I thought that.
I saw the Trent ender up more before I kind of registered it was a goal, really. But yeah, obviously it was crazy, and then I just took a moment to kind of look around the City ground, and it was just one of the best limbs I've seen there for a long time, and yeah, just a sea of red everywhere. It was fantastic. And yeah, it was a great moment, really good moment, and hopefully one we can look back on the end of the season. Gone, that was a real pivotal moment in what a great season it's been already. But yeah, a real pivotal moment in hopefully a good outcome at the end of it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, let's stay on the final third in terms of players and attacking wise. We'll go talk about obviously the excellent defensive work that pretty much won Forest the game, especially towards the end. Stay on Anthony Elanga again. He gets criticised. We've talked about it on the podcast before when he struggled, but I think recently, he has turned it around. I just look at the stats now: 3 chances created. That's the most in the game by any player. He's had 4 accurate crosses, 1 successful dribble, 3 passes into the final third. He's won 3 out of 4 ground duels, 1 out of 2 aerials, 2 fouls drawn and 3 recoveries. So, he's been someone that, in terms of statistically, and you look at the facts on Saturday, he massively helped Forest. What do you make to Elanga, Sam, recently? I think he has done well. I wish he was a bit more sometimes energetic off the ball, but that isn't his job. He isn't a defender. He's never going to be able to get back, and you need players like him up there for Forest's game plan where we can launch a quick counter. But I thought on Saturday, his pace, alongside Hudson-Odoi, alongside many other players in the team, and that was the reason why Forest created that many chances and then, ultimately get one that pays off.
I've got my issue with that. Elanga is that every time he gets the ball, I just want him to put his head down and go past players. And I know that's probably unrealistic because he can't just do it every time. He'll be knackered at half time if he does that. But it's because I know it's there, and I know that he can beat any fullback in the league. I just want him to do that. And obviously sometimes he'll square a defender up and maybe take the safer option and go backwards. But yeah, he's a complete threat. And they're very different wingers, which is, I think they really complement each other. Is in that Hudson-Odoi is looking for that kind of angle to create something like whether it's a cross or a shot, and Elanga just draws defenders in. He takes people on and just draws defenders in, and I think they just complement each other and work really well together. My only gripe with Elanga over the last couple of weeks is just, I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but he's obviously taking a lot of corners. And the amount of corners that don't beat the first man, and I know obviously it's all right, but it happened a couple of times against Arsenal, and I thought we did really well to kind of soak up a lot of pressure, get out and get a corner, and then the corner comes in. I think Anderson's been kind of a bit criminal for it as well sometimes as well. But I just think if we're getting those positions, obviously results obviously went well for us at the weekend. But yeah, just getting the ball into the mixer and getting a decent delivery in the box. That's the only gripe that I've got with Elanga at the moment. It's just that delivery. But yeah, apart from that, I think he's great, and I just love watching him play. He's electric.
Yeah, no, for sure.
After Gibbs White, Scott, I can't remember who scored that header against near post. Who was that again?
Brian. Was that Brian? Or was that? I can't remember.
Anyway,
I can't remember either.
Game header near post. Maybe it was the first Brighton goal. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, I think since then it's like Elanga's been told to do that. Like his ball for Yates against Ipswich was wicked. Like just whipped it in perfectly, and he's definitely got it in him. But I think it's those fine margins. I think because he's trying to put it right on the front of the 6-yard box. They're always putting runners in there. But you're right, it is frustrating because often that's our time where we've alleviated the pressure and we can go and build our own a little bit. But yeah, it has been a bit frustrating, and I was commenting on that sort of during the game. But I think he's really stepped up. He's had peaks and troughs this season, hasn't he? But he's been so important for us, and yeah, I thought he was really good at the weekend.
For sure. I mean, Max, I was actually heard some guy talk about this, walking out of the ground, and heard someone say to somebody else £3 million, and they're right, because it was £3 million for Callum Hudson-Odoi, and that's a bargain. But when you look at Forest's final third and you compare it to teams like Arsenal, who are in desperate need of a striker, and even maybe Chelsea at times, you probably can't compare it to Liverpool, but it is one of the most deadly in the league, you'd have to agree, based on the kind of amount of chances that they create, and particularly Callum Hudson-Odoi. I mean, you cover a lot more Premier League in general, Max, and you talk about it a lot in terms of on TalkSport. Do Forest have probably one of the deadliest attacks in the league?
Yeah, absolutely. We're third in the league. You can't deny it otherwise. Chris Woods, I think, has got the best shot conversion in the Premier League. And you've only got to compare the stats and compare the sort of goals and assists from every other top six club. Of course we are. I think that if we were, as it's difficult to say, because Arsenal, if we were Liverpool fans, no one would be questioning that. Obviously, Liverpool are 15 points clear, so that's obvious. But I think because we're Forest and we've come so far so quickly, we've fought relegation the past 2 seasons, people are a little bit uncomfortable. People don't know what to do about the success. Do they just say, "Oh, well, you've spent millions of quid"? Do you say, "Oh, Chris was just having a random season"? People are less willing to just admit the fact that this season Forest have been one of the best sides in the country. Simple as. So, of course, Forest have one of the most deadly front threes. I mean, the stats, the results, the goals, the season speaks for itself.
Yeah, for sure. Good time to talk about your tweet, actually, Max. I'm going to read it from my phone in a min, but you might have seen it. There's a picture that's kind of gone viral around City and the players that they had, and I can't remember. It was Kevin De Bruyne, could have been Grealish, and somebody else.
Marmoush, I think it was.
Omar Marmoush, of course, was linked with Forest. Turned us down, didn't he? And he stood next to Ryan Yates, and Ryan Yates, some guys going to put however much. Hundreds of millions of pounds versus a lad from Lincoln, talking about Ryan Yates, and almost the aura of Ryan Yates stood there, and it's a great photo. You can find it on Twitter, on Facebook, the internet. And then I saw some replies from some Newcastle fans, some Spurs fans, some Leicester fans, and this one from a Newcastle fan stood out, where he said, "And let's not forget that Forest have spent £350 million or whatever it was in the past couple of years, and it isn't a fairy tale story." Well, Max, you tweeted, and I totally agree, man. I think you tweeted it just about an hour ago now. Forest's success isn't diminished by the millions they've spent. The bold ambition to challenge the established order should be applauded. Having the minerals to risk it for the sake of a better future is admirable, but you can't win. Some people prefer plucky failures to success stories. And you're spot on there, mate, because I just, any football team has to spend money, and Forest compared to others haven't spent. And, you look at Chelsea and City have a whole state behind them. They're going to find themselves in some trouble probably in the next month or this month. So it's one of those where you think Forest deserve plaudits for what they've done.
Yeah. You can't, you just can't win, can you? Get on board the Forest train. Otherwise, because it ain't stopping for you. We're a massive club with a massive history, and we're incredibly lucky to support a club like that. Other supporters of other clubs don't have that, and they don't understand that about the club. And so when they see them succeeding, it's like, you don't belong here. Yet fans are always whining about the top six. Fans are always whining about how big the gap is between the Championship and the Premier League. Yet when a club comes and sort of smashes that ceiling and disrupts the established order, that procession in the top four, top six, it's all like, "Oh, we spent a load of money." Yeah, of course we have. What did you expect us to do? Play, Championship players? Look at Ipswich, bless them. I know they've spent a lot of money, but they've come from League One, then straight up, and they've just not got it in the tank. And so for it was a massive risk. It almost got us relegated because of that 4-point deduction. But the absolute minerals on Evangelos Marinakis to do that, to really put his money where his mouth is, obviously has paid off, and we wouldn't have it any other way. So I just think it's so self-righteous of fans to sort of say, "Well, what do you want us to do? Get these parachute payments, have one of the most wealthiest owners in Europe, and then just spend 500 grand here and there just to appease the sort of the status quo." Get a grip, accept it. That's what we want. This is why this season, not just for Forest, has been so fantastic. Bournemouth, Fulham, we all came up together, and here we are fighting for Europe, and it's been an amazing product. And so I just think I couldn't believe some of the responses.
Well, no, it made me laugh. I watched Match of the Day, and at the end of the analysis from the game, I think Michael Richards said that City definitely need to add more quality to their squad. And I was thinking, they've just spent 200 million in January, more than all teams combined in the Premier League, and they need to add more quality to the squad. Thinking, like, what's going on here? Like, and then we're getting stick for financially challenging. It's ridiculous. And I just think we just need to shut the noise out and crack on, carry on doing what we're doing, because it's obviously working and it's rattling quite a few cages elsewhere, and you can see that. And that's exactly what Marinakis wants to do, and he is doing. So yeah, long may it continue.
Yeah, for sure. We're working on BBC 606 last night, and we do a feature called 6x6, which is where Robbie Savage, gives people 6 seconds. You go down the line, 6 callers, quick fire, name, team, and point. And I spoke to this great fan. I think he could have been Peter. And he was a Brighton fan, and he rang up and he said, my point is that I'm a Brighton fan, but the top 6 narrative, there isn't a top 6 narrative now. He said the top 6 are over. It isn't the so-called top 6. Look at Manchester United. Look at City this season. Look at Spurs. He said, and you've got teams recently, Newcastle that challenged it, Brighton, now Forest, Bournemouth, Fulham, teams that you've just mentioned there, Max. So I thought that was a really interesting point about him almost saying there is no top 6 in a way now, and the media needs to stop saying the top 6, because there isn't a top 6, and in terms of if there is a top 6, then it's Forest, then it's City maybe still at the minute, then it might be Bournemouth, do you know what I mean? So giving credit to those other teams, I thought that was kind of a good point worth sharing. Let's talk about defensively. That won Forest the game ultimately. Some brilliant off the line clearances, great saves of course from Matt Sells. Another clean sheet for him. He is on track, am I right, boys? He's going to, he's possibly in contention to get the Golden Glove, right?
Yeah, he's ahead by about 3 clean sheets, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, it was a fairly comfortable game for him in all. There wasn't too much that he had to deal with that was, there was a couple of shots that went just wide, weren't there? But and a few from sort of at the edge of the box, but there wasn't really any massive saves that he had to make it like he's done in previous weeks. And that's a credit to the 4 in front of him, really. I think they were fantastic. And yeah, Murillo was outstanding again. Milenkovic didn't give Erling Haaland a sniff of the ball.
It was brilliant.
Yeah, it was so good. There was some points where there was aerial battles between Milenkovic and Haaland, and it was just dominance. It was pure dominance. Yeah, he's so crucial. He doesn't. Murillo gets all the plaudits, I think, in all the media because he's so fancy. We all see the clips of him doing like back heels and things like that, and you're thinking, wow, this is our centre half. But for me, Milenkovic is just irreplaceable in that back 4. He's honestly incredible, and to talk about shrewd business, that's fantastic. It really is. So. Yeah, another great performance from them, and it's nice to see that kind of. I know we've talked about how good the defence has been all season, and maybe in the last month or so that there's been a couple of occasions where we've not been at those standards, and it's good to see that they're well and truly back at those really high standards. Yeah.
No, absolutely, mate. And Murillo, it's worth mentioning, he made 10 clearances and finished the game with 100% cross accuracy, 100% dual success and 100% dribble success. So, we like statistics, and he gets all of them on Saturday. But you're right, Sam, it's funny, when we do the end of season awards on this podcast, I'd love to know whether people would go for Anderson or Milenkovic over signing of the season. I think it could really be flip of the coin. Max, in terms of defensively, actually, for Forest, just quickly before we look ahead to March and upcoming games and the race for Champions League, still mental to say that. How crucial has the defence been this season, and also the job, not just how crucial they are, but the job that Nuno's done compared to last season in terms of not conceding that many set pieces, stopping crosses, just defensively. Forest looks sound. It's one of the best defences in the league. You feel confident. You've got a brilliant keeper in the middle of the goal. Fans sing about Matt Sells in the middle of our goal. He literally is. He's on track probably to get the Golden Glove. This has to be one of the best Forest defences, even possibly ever, maybe.
Yeah, you'd have to ask some people of the older generation that, but and they might be quite defensive of Des Walker, Kenny Burns et al. But I think certainly for us, again, in our lifetime, it is. I mean, last season we were leaking goals, and it's just completely different gravy. Again, there's, I think it shows how important trusting a manager and giving them time, and a manager having a pre-season is. And with Nuno, it's clear that it's a mixture of sort of his tactics and his sort of fingerprints all over the team, but it's the atmosphere in the dressing room, isn't it? Everybody, there's that really strong togetherness, and I think that's really important defensively, because last season, even just the work rate of Callum Hudson-Odoi getting back compared to last season, as an example, I think shows a lot about how we're defending as a team and how committed they are. But I can't quite articulate how impressive every single one of those players are, that back four. I mean, for me, Olareina is undoubtedly the best fullback in the league this season. That I wouldn't want another defence centre-back pairing. I wouldn't swap Murillo for Saliba. I wouldn't swap Murillo for Van Dijk. I just wouldn't. I don't care. People will be like, "Oh, you're mad." Like, if you clip that up, people would be like, "You're ridiculous." I don't care. I wouldn't. He's younger. He's harder. His shot power's better, and I wouldn't swap him. And so, and he's on a 500-year contract at the club, so he's ours for a while. Everything about that back four is just amazing, and the improvement in Nico Williams, wow. Moreno came in and was incredibly impressive at the start, wasn't he? And we were all sort of thinking, is it going to be another one of those never fall in love with a lone player? But with the greatest respect, what fella, all he does at the end is give it the big into the A block, give his free sort of whatever. It's all Nico Williams. It's amazing.
Absolutely. This comment from this fan, I supported Forest in the 1970s, and I would now say the current defence is the best I've ever seen. So there you go, backs up our point there. Right, March. We're kind of well into March, aren't we, really? Second week or whatever. We've got a not an easy test away at Ipswich next week. We're obviously down there fighting. And then it's Brighton in the quarterfinals, and then March is over, and then it's the 1st of April against Manchester United back at the City Ground. I'm going to ask everyone on the podcast in the next couple of weeks, and I think I know the answer. Sam, I mean, is Champions League on? Are Forest going to finish in the Champions League place?
Yes.
Plain and
Nothing
simple.
else.
Plain and simple. I like it.
No,
Max?
yeah, no, we are 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Max, do you agree?
Yeah, I do agree. Yeah, I do agree. Definitely. It's going to be really difficult because it means so much to every club that are fighting for it. But I'm just looking, at these all of the fixtures we've got left. Ipswich, we beat them earlier in the season. Man United, we beat them earlier in the season. Villa, first comeback win I can remember at the City Ground for a long time, beat them. Everton, we beat them away, didn't we? Spurs beat them on Boxing Day. Brentford beat them away. We're playing them at home. Crystal Palace, was that maybe a draw earlier in the season?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a draw.
Yeah. So we drew against them. Absolutely demolished Leicester, seeing a bit. West Ham, we beat them at home, didn't we?
Yeah, 3-0.
Yeah, 3-0. Yeah, it was 3-0.
And then Chelsea, I can't remember that one. We think we drew away.
Drew away, didn't we? Chris Wood scored equaliser at the end with 10 men.
So, of all of the games that we've got left in the league, only 2, we've won all of them apart from 2. So I think that's 8 of the last 10. Now, obviously, the context different, the season changes. The likes of Palace, West Ham, in particular, are Villa are very good at home as well, have improved. But I just think we've got that sort of psychological benefit of playing teams that we've already beaten. So I am really confident. I'm never going to say, yeah, we're going to do it, but I'm feeling really confident, particularly after, I think that City game, if we get into Champions League, we'll look back and we're like, that was the moment where we got it.
Yeah, absolutely. Get them Ryanair flights booked, fellas. Hopefully they give us a discount, like Garibaldi Red for 10% off or something. Good old Michael O'Leary. Right, thanks both. Excellent as ever. Some really nice points discussed. And just mental. Forest still 3rd in the league. And you forget a possible trip to Wembley if we can get past Brighton in the quarterfinals as well, which we will discuss on the podcast. Max, thanks as ever, mate. Great work on the new show as well. Enjoying listening when I can, so make sure people... It's Thursday afternoon, isn't it?
Yeah, Thursday, 3 till 5 on TalkSport 2.
Lovely stuff. Sam, thanks as ever, mate. Any new T-shirt designs in the making from, especially that celebration, maybe for Callum Hudson-Odoi?
Yeah, I've been really slacking recently because I've just been busy with work. But yeah, it's there'll be something in the motion. I'm used to get back into the swing of things and get some stuff going. Hopefully, some European themed merch towards the end of the season and ready for next season. Don't want to go too early, but there's plenty of room for creative inspiration if that comes off.
Maybe a plane with like Nuno dressed as a pilot or something. That'd be quite good. Taken off at East Midlands Airport. Right, Bo, thanks as ever. Thanks to those who have tuned in as well at Facebook, Nottingham Forest News, YouTube, Garibaldi Red. Give us a like, share, and subscribe on those platforms. Follow us across Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review if you did enjoy. We shall see you for our Ipswich preview, and then of course our Ipswich review. Stay with us. Lots of good stuff happening, and it all makes it nice when Forest are doing so well at the minute. Third in the Premier League in March, quarter-finalists of the FA Cup beat Manchester City and Liverpool this season, plus a few more, and the most clean sheets in the league. That'll do nicely. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.